right, so this was round 1 from the Arlington Chess Club Winter Quick and Blitz. What this was is a quad, so 4 players by rating get put in a group. They all play each other, and it takes 3 rounds to accomplish that, so this is round 1. I was probably a little higher rated than I should have been because my over-the-board rating is 1,065, but the same goes for the other players who are in it. Their rating doesn't necessarily reflect where they are, but I was probably the highest rated player in the quad, so let's get into it. So this was a Dutch, which I was pretty happy to see, just because, well, if anyone knows me, they know that I think the Dutch is interesting, but it's also kind of easy to play against, and I've lost one too many games in it, so I was happy to do it. I went with bishop g5 on the second move because it is a book move, but it's a little odd. It's one that players don't necessarily face all the time, and there isn't a great way to stop it. So the most natural way seems to just be to push the pawn up, and the most common move for white is to move the bishop all the way back. And then you basically have this kind of weird structure with black over here. But I knew there was a little more of a tactical play, a little more of a crazy idea that you don't see quite as often. And so I started with bishop h4. Now this looks like this just traps the bishop. But the reason why it doesn't is because even in this position, you have the in-between move, pawn e3. And what this basically does is you try to go greedy, you get the bishop, you get checkmated on the next move. So you can't do that. There's nowhere to go. And so thankfully, in this position, if you push forward, I have this in-between. You stop me, but then I actually just pick up an extra pawn, and white is doing awesome here. So that's not the best way to play. What I should have done still in this position is play e3 as opposed to e4. It's not quite as good, but it leads to kind of a very interesting position, which is you're supposed to play this move here and just accept the fact that the position kind of sucks and you're going to lose castling rights. But instead he does knight f6. I push the pawn, takes. Now you got this position where black's got this really kind of dumb looking bishop, and you've got the doubles. So not ideal. Now what I should have done next move is just play queen h5, make it so we can lose castling rights, and then pick up the pawn if I want to, or just develop normally. But I went for this because I thought to myself, if he doesn't play that, this is a little bit playing for tricks. If he doesn't play this, I'm going to hit him with check on the next move, and then his king's going to move forward. So let's just say he does random move like this. I hit him with check, he moves forward, I hit him with check, and now his king's over here in the middle of the board. Once I play this move, it's pretty much close to over. You have to absolutely stop this. Now you can, thankfully, you hit him with the check here, I take, and then you're basically safe again for now. And if you're not careful, though, you do get checkmated. So you have to basically do, apparently, you have to take with these pieces. You can't take with this because then you'll get checkmated right here, crazy enough. But this is still okay for white, but there were better moves here. So bishop c4, d5, I move the piece back. Supposed to, again, do the queen check first. You can move the bishop back later, but I was fine enough with that. And then lastly, he plays h5, which cuts off the ability of the queen to go to h5. So that was my last chance to do that. Move the queen up to attack the d-pawn. He defends it. I attack it. He defends it. Then I castle. Now, one of the things that's changed about the position is his bishop over here is no longer quite as stupid. And you might want to save this check move for just the right moment. But he brings his knight forward, and here I started looking at some tactics. Now, if it's my turn, I can really easily just pick up this pawn because his piece is pinned. And so I think he saw the risk of that, and so he said, well, I need to put my piece here because if my king's here, if my queen's here, takes, yes, I'm going to get the queen, but he's already got my queen, and then he gets the rook, and this is a huge winning position. I've got 4 pieces, he's got 5. And I'm down the exchange, so you can't allow that to happen. He does this, but then you fall to another tactic. Now, the right move here is actually bishop takes, and you can't take here because I dropped the queen with check, so I'm in time to save my queen and win a pawn. So you can't just take back so easily. No, what you're supposed to do is take, then you take here. You still can't take because I have rook's check. But you got to get your queen out of the way. So you have to pick a spot for your queen, but there aren't that many great ones that you'd like to pick. So let's just say you go with the top engine move, which is queen h7. Well, that kind of sucks because then you have check over here, and wherever the king goes, I'm going to pick up this knight. So you can't really allow that. And alternatively, though, there's just not another square you can defend this piece from. And so if you move somewhere else, if you move here, well, I can check you here first if I want to. There's no really good way out of it. I'm actually trying to see what's the problem with playing this move. Oh, right. Takes, and then you get the royal fork. So you can't really do that. Now, I didn't see that bishop takes was the best move. I saw a simpler tactic that wasn't as good, which is start with the knight take. You still can't take because of the same thing, but if you take, now I've got this position where I've got the double ops on this bishop. And you can't take first because, again, it's the same situation, check, and I pick up the piece. So I take here, and now you got a really tough decision. There's no way to defend this piece. White technically is up a piece, but I'm going to have an extra pawn for it at the end of the day. But unfortunately, he makes a tragic blunder. He plays queen, d6. Now I get the fork with the rook, takes, and now I'm up basically 5 points of material. He's got a rook for the queen. So opponent at this point castles. This is where I almost made a dumb move. Move the knight out, just get pieces out for development. And this is where I made a little bit of almost a dumb move. I take the knight, he takes back, and then I do the check, and then he moves over. And what's terrible here is that I almost decided to move the rook right here. And if I had done that, I would have fallen victim to this massive, unstoppable pin I can't get out of. It still might be winning for me because after queen takes h6, takes over here, he's still got these doubled pawns. And I've still got basically a pretty good situation here. I've got the pawns in the center. These pawns are going to be pretty easy to start picking off, and I'll basically be able to get to those pretty easily, but I would really have to fight for it, and I could lose this game. But instead, I check first, he moves away, then on the next move, I played f5, and he said, we can wrap it up. And so at this point, I won the first game, and let's move on to the next one.